Crisis on Infinite Earths is the single biggest turning point in the history of DC Comics. The story echoed through every corner of the DC universe, and no comic book artist could illustrate an event of that magnitude better than George Pérez.
Coming up with Crisis on Infinite Earths, the company had already decided with all these multiple Earths that DC had that maybe it was becoming a little difficult for a new reader to come in and get involved in any of the current storylines when they have to try to figure out, well, why are there two Supermen? Why are there two Batmen? You know, or one Batman is dead. Who is this other Batman? You know, these type of confusing things. And as it turned out, it was coming out at a perfect time because it was the 50th anniversary of DC Comics. To say, let's do something really, really big. At that point, I wasn't involved. I found out about it, and I thought, you know, this book has my fingerprints on it before I ever touch it. I love drawing superheroes. I love drawing as many superheroes as I can. I made most of my career from doing team books. So the idea of being able to draw a book that could potentially have every single character DC Comics has created, even out of the superhero genre, I said, oh, I can't turn this down. So I volunteered. I would become part of the plotting later on when I realized it was so big they really needed another voice in there. But one of the things that they found out, that as many characters as they would put into the story, by the time they got the artwork, they had to do at least 2 or 3 times more characters put in. Even if they were background characters or other people just reacting to it, said, no, I want to draw the DC universe. When I first started in the industry, I never had an art lesson, so there were a lot of weaknesses in my work, but they said that they kept hiring me, saying that they hoped my artwork would improve, but storytelling and composing a page was something that was instinctive for me. Said that they couldn't teach me. That made me valuable. And the fact that I loved drawing a lot of characters and I'm willing to put as much attention to the background characters as the foreground characters made me unique at the time. Most artists didn't want to do those books. I thrived on it. So I became very valuable to them, and it was something that I always found easy. And I guess also because I love drawing comics so much that I wanted to make sure I'm worth the money I'm being paid, because I'm being paid to do the stuff that I wanted to do since I was a child. I was living in Wonderland. I wanted to make sure that they knew and the fans knew that I appreciated all the good fortune I have by being able to do this. In the end, I believe I drew over 520 characters in that series, because we did do a cover for a collection, penciled by me and painted by the great Alex Ross. And Alex asked me to draw everybody I drew in the book. And that's when I realized I drew over 520 characters, because they all appeared on that cover. I take great, great pride in that. I would have drawn more if we had more room. And my one extra contribution to it was the title. When they were trying to figure out, you know, what we're going to call it, and obviously they were inspired by all the previous crossovers with the Justice League and the Justice Society and all the different Earths that led to coming up with this concept of trying to streamline it. And I said, well, like Crisis on Infinite Earths. And thus the title was born. Even if Crisis had not succeeded, I would not be ashamed of what I've done. That I'd be happy with my work. I'm grateful that it did do well. I'm grateful that it helped, you know, my career even further. But for me, it was just playing in the world's greatest sandbox and getting a chance to draw all these wonderful characters in a story which had one surprise after another. I mean, the death of Supergirl became the touchstone of the series, one of the scenes that everyone remembers, even though the first death that was decided on conceptually was the death of the Flash, because he was the first character of the new Silver Age. So the fact that his death had to follow Supergirl's, okay, we kind of blunted his death a bit because we made such a big impact with the death of Supergirl. But again, it's those little bit, one surprise after another. And of course, by killing off Supergirl, they said, okay, now no one is safe. But it was a fanboy dream for me. I really, really just wanted to be able to draw all these characters, some of whom I would never get the opportunity to draw in a regular story. So this was a dream come true. And to this day, you know, it's considered one of the highlights of my career, and also the maxi series by which all other maxi series are judged. So like, and we created a new term. There was never a term, oh, the post-crisis or the pre-crisis. We are a benchmark to comparing, you know, what used to be at DC and what ended up following at DC.